Welcome back to another episode of Small Ball with Kenny Beecham. Playoff basketball is here. The first round is almost over. We have one game 7 and one game 6 later tonight. And I want to remind you that the Enjoy Basketball team, we have this somewhat of a basketball universe. Let me break it down for you. You got the Kenny For Real channel, where I give you nearly nightly recaps of every single playoff game. Then you get numbers on the board, which what we're going to do tomorrow is give you the previews to the next round series, the second round series. And then you get this one where we're talking about the 6 eliminated teams. So hopefully you tuning in across the world. And I don't know what the hell Pierre did the other day, but Pierre is also talking hoops on a weekly basis. Just tune in, baby. We got a lot going on. I had a ridiculous last 24 hours. If you watch the Kenny For Real channel, after the Lakers got eliminated, it's very late at night, and I'm like, yo, I gotta wrap this video up. I got a flight in the morning. I got a flight in 6 hours. On my way to catch my flight, was in a car accident. Was in a car accident. Like, luckily everybody was okay, but the paramedics scared the hell out of me. I wasn't driving. I was in an Uber, and he says, well, how do you feel? And I'm like, oh, my neck hurts a little bit, but I should be okay. My flight is starting to board in about 30 minutes. I got pre-check, so I'm trying to just get through and board. He says, if for whatever reason you had some type of brain injury, like a concussion, getting on that highly pressurized plane might not be the smartest of decisions. I'm already a paranoid guy to start off with. I'm already an anxious guy to start off with. So this paramedic is saying that maybe you shouldn't get on the flight. Damn it, that was enough for me not to get on the flight. So I didn't end up making my flight. I didn't end up making my shoot. Luckily, we made some workarounds because Zoom exists, but it was a weird 24 hours, man. If there's one silver lining to it all, is that I got to watch basketball last night. That trip that I was going on was a one-day turnaround. I would have been flying while, the Knicks were beating the Pistons. I would have been flying as we saw James Harden and Kawhi Leonard come back to force a game 7. So if there's any silver lining to it all, I get to talk about those teams a little bit more in depth today versus not being able to. Again, everybody that was involved in this 2-vehicle collision was okay. I was the only person that went in. That's the paranoid me. And again, I'm okay. My neck hurts a little bit, but they gave me some patches, and I got a patch on right now. Not like now that I think about that, I hear patches, I automatically think of like nicotine. It's like a lidocaine patch, so it's supposed to like numb up the area. Anyway, are y'all ready for some basketball talk? Hopefully you are, because we got some eliminated teams. The Grizzlies got absolutely smoked by OKC, but damn it, John Morant said if he would have played, it would have been a 2-2 series. The Lakers, everybody on the ESPN panel, everybody on the numbers on the board panel said the Lakers are going to win this series in 5, 6, or 7. They lost in 5. You got the Magic, who nobody really thought they were going to win their series, but they actually impressed me a lot more than I anticipated. We're going to talk about that. We got the Pistons, another team that a lot of people didn't have a bunch of faith in. The youngest team, one of the youngest teams, with a team that won 14 games last season, took the Knicks to a game 6, and they were one shot away from forcing the game 7 in Madison Square Garden. We got the Bucks. We got to talk about what the hell is next with the Bucks, because Damian Lillard is out with an Achilles, get well soon, and Giannis's future with the Bucks might be up in the air. Congratulations to the Antetokounmpo family. I saw that they introduced their 4th child to this world, so congratulations. Me and my wife are expecting in a few months, Giannis, so I'm expecting you to give me a congratulations in a little bit. And then lastly, the Miami Heat, one of the teams that, let's start there. The Miami Heat had a interesting season. Their star player, one of their greatest players in franchise history, basically tanked the season. You don't want to pay me. You want to talk all this crap, Pat Riley. Well, I want out. Then we get this tug of war of Pat Riley being one of the most stubborn players in sports, or persons in sports, and then Jimmy Butler being one of the more stubborn players in sports. It's give and take. Yeah, you're going to suit up. Actually, you're not going to suit up. You're going to come to this shoot around. Actually, you're not going to suit up today. We want you to start. Never mind, we want Hayward Highsmith to start. It was a lot of turmoil, if you will. And the Miami Heat are not known for that. The Miami Heat have been this team that we've trusted to put together championship quality teams. And me and the guys have had this conversation a few times around, where, the Miami Heat had the 2020 championship run when Jimmy Butler was bent over the stanchion and exhaustion. And then they had the 2022 2022, I want to say, where they go from the play-in team to the NBA Finals. And as amazing of runs both of those were, they turned out to be somewhat fool's gold, where the guys in charge kind of look at the roster and say, hey, man, we were 3 games away from being NBA champions. We don't need to do anything too dramatic. And that became one of the downsides to the end of the Jimmy Butler era. And now we get to the point where they go against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it's just nasty. They completely rolled over in that last game. They were ready to get the hell out of there. They were ready for that season to end. And I can't really blame them, but it was really bad. And I was talking to the guys, and I said, okay, what is next for this team? Because Tyler Hero had an all-star season. We got to the postseason, and we basically saw what Tyler Hero was able to do, what made him be so good in the regular season, get shifted in the postseason. We saw that teams go after his neck. The Cleveland Cavaliers go after his neck. And now you have to think about, well, what really can we be if Tyler Hero is our best player? Bam Adebayo had a disappointing offensive season, full stop. And maybe we're asking a bit much from Bam because he is still one of the best defensive players in basketball. And I was listening to, or I saw a clip of, it was Zach Lowe's podcast, and Pina was basically saying that Bam Adebayo is one of the amplifiers in basketball. And I didn't really know what the context of that was because, again, I didn't listen to the full show. Shout out to Zach Lowe. But I heard that, I saw that clip, and I'm like, damn, that is a good way to describe Bam Adebayo, where he can give you all-star type of production, but his real role is amplifying the team. His real role is being one of the best switchable bigs in all of basketball and covering up for guys that aren't necessarily great on that side of the ball. He's an amplifier. And I thought this season he was overtaxed with trying to be a little bit more. But then you ask yourself, okay, if Tyler Hero is a really good go-to scoring guy, but maybe not the best scoring guy you can get, go-to scoring guys you can get, Bam Adebayo is an amplifier. How do we get the guy to make them fit in their role? And again, Jimmy Butler was that for a little bit, but they didn't pay him, and that was enough for him to pretty much ask out. And the guy's like, there's going to be stars on the market this offseason. I look at who the Miami Heat are and what they have on the team and the tradable assets they have, and I just don't know how they get into the star market. They always are in the star market, right? Whether it be Damian Lillard before he was traded to the Bucks, whether it be Paul George for a little bit, whether it been Kevin Durant when he was on his way out of Brooklyn. They always find their way to be talked about when it comes to these star players. And now I just don't know how they acquire that guy. For a long time, it was like, oh, if the Damian Lillard trade happens, it has to be Tyler Hero. And then the Portland Trailblazers like, we already got Sharp. We're about to draft Scoot Henderson. We don't need a guy like Tyler Hero. Hell, he's on a contract that at that moment in time, a lot of people saw to be a bad contract. But now if you're going to acquire this all-star talent, let's say it's Kevin Durant, you need Tyler Hero if you want to continue to compete. The younger guys on the team, Khalil Ware is a good player, but something tells me, listen, I think the word untouchable has been thrown around a lot on NBA Twitter over the last couple of days as we talk about the Houston Rockets and some of the players on their team. I definitely don't think Khalil Ware is an untouchable piece, but damn it, he's so good alongside Bam Adebayo that you, in your mind, try to do everything in your power to keep him on the team. A guy like Jaime Jaquez, who was really highly touted as a trade prospect last year, basically couldn't play down the stretch and in the postseason, really. So I just don't know how to get into the conversations for the star player. And if they can't get into the conversations for the star player, is the other way the better option? I don't really know. A weird Miami Heat season. I got the utmost amount of respect for Pat Riley and what he's been able to build over the last 40 years in basketball, 50 years in basketball. But right now, my trust in him is just a little bit lower than what it was, let's say, 3 to 4 years ago. So I don't know exactly what happens next. I thought they did really well with the Davion Mitchell pickup, but on the other side of that, Andrew Wiggins didn't do anything in the postseason. I was genuinely excited. Go back and look at my NBA draft or my NBA trade deadline episode. I'm like, hey, all things considered, considering Jimmy Butler had asked out and he was wearing different color hair or dyeing his hair different colors to match the teams that he wanted to be traded to, them getting back Wiggins, it's not that bad of a consolation prize. He ain't Jimmy Butler, but he was averaging 20-something points. It's not bad. He looks like a guy that will be able to come to Miami and embrace that type of culture and actually be pretty good. He was just an all-star 2 years ago. Not even close to that. Postseason came around, and I'm looking at him like, damn, where's Haywood Highsmith? Can he play instead? It's not where you want to be. Davion Mitchell was a good pickup. Khalil Ware was a great draft pick. That's kind of it. And I don't know what happens next with the Miami Heat. So boom, that's the Miami Heat eulogy. Get well soon. I hope you end up getting better because I do believe that the NBA is better when the Heat are good, but right now they aren't very good. Um, yeah, the Cavs make them look really silly. And one thing I've been trying to figure out as we transition to our next team is was it the Cavs being ridiculously dominant as they were in the regular season, or were the Miami Heat really just that bad? And I had the same thought process when it comes to OKC versus the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, I know they walked their way to the finish line to end the season. They were not good for the last month or two. Obviously, they got rid of their head coach with 9 games left of the regular season and all. But I'm looking at them like, damn, are the OKC Thunder really that dominant, or were the Grizzlies just shit? And I don't know the answer to it. Ja Morant continues to have the utmost amount of confidence, as he should. Like, he's an NBA player. I don't think you make it to the league without being overly cocky and overly confident. You kind of have to have that chip. He thinks that this series would have been longer if he didn't get hurt. And I mean, he has a conversation, I guess. Maybe they end up winning that game when he goes down. I mean, damn it, they did have a 29-point lead. And you think that if he doesn't go down, he's able to prevent Desmond Bane from shooting 4 logo threes on back-to-back possessions. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but that's what it felt like. You would think that some of those post touches that went to Jaren that Alex Caruso snuffed up would just be Ja Morant creating something instead. So he has an argument to maybe take a game, but OKC was that good. The Grizzlies have been pretty damn good at talent evaluation and acquiring misfits that are really good. But where they struggled at is obviously the health part of things. Their star player, Ja Morant, has not given us a fully healthy season in quite some time, and kind of putting it all together. They had so many bodies and so many contract decisions that this team that at one point was a 2 seed gave up a first round pick for a salary dump in the middle of the season. And it's just rare for a competing team to dump a salary of a player that could have contributed at least a little bit. Let's be real. Ja Morant goes down with this injury in the postseason. Having Marcus Smart on the team could have helped. Just could have helped. Marcus Smart's not changing the goddamn series. They still would have lost. But I'm just saying having that type of player could have helped them. And I'm not trying to act like Marcus Smart was even really good this season. He wasn't. But is it Marcus Smart or is it John Conchar checking in? No disrespect to Giddey, but you know what I'm saying. So I just don't know. I think they have to look themselves in the mirror and make some really big decisions. Because let's assume that next year they have health, and I'm hoping they do because I'm not wishing bad luck on anybody. Let's assume that they have health next season, and their top 3 players are able to play 70 games each. And they get to the postseason, there's not a scratch on Desmond Bane. There's not an ankle tweak on Ja Morant, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is getting a rebound, right? I still don't know how this team would be able to compete with the OKCs of the world. I just don't. So if you look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, we have 3 really good players. 2 of them should be perennial all-stars, and one of them has a ceiling to maybe be an all-star one day, and we still don't have enough, maybe we should make some tough decisions. Jaren Jackson Jr. has a possibility of making an all-NBA team. As I've been looking through the tracker, because some people, I love y'all, by the way, some people track, listen to the podcast, and read the articles of everybody that has an NBA vote and say, hey, man, this is who, I don't even know who has votes nowadays. This is who Ryan Russillo has in this All-NBA team, and he's going to jot it down in a spreadsheet. Right now, Jaren Jackson Jr. has a chance to make an All-NBA appearance. And if he makes All-NBA, then his next extension gets kind of ridiculous. Just like with Evan Mobley won a DPOY, he went from making $220 million to $260 million over a course of 5 years. Something like that when it comes to extension eligible Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to happen. It's like, man, we love Jaren. He is still really good defensively. He does have his holes in this game. He's not a great rebounder. Sometimes having a smaller, more feistier defender on him, like we saw with Alex Caruso, could give him trouble. Do we want to pay him that much money? Do we want to be in that type of business? Because if we're in the business of that, hey, we already extended Desmond Bane. Hey, we already extended Ja Morant on a rookie max. Kind of pigeonholing ourselves a little bit. So they have to make some big decisions. And I don't envy the guy that has to make those decisions. Is it Kleiman? Is it Zach Kleiman over there? He's got to make some really tough decisions. And I truly do believe no matter what he decides to do, fan bases will not be happy about it. It's just one of those things that you kind of have to trust the process and trust the people that are in charge. And before we started today's episode up, we got the news that Greg Popovich was stepping away from coaching officially and take a team president role. And I just got another notification that Mitch Johnson did win the head coaching job. That's surprising to me. I definitely believe that Mitch Johnson deserved a chance to continue his role from interim to head coach, but like this is one of the best head coaching crops that we have as far as openings go between Jenkins and Mike Brown and all of these guys. Bud, I don't know if Bud is coming back to the NBA this season, but just a little Mike Malone. Did I say Mike Malone? Um, some of those dudes come from the Greg Popovich tree too. So I'm surprised that they didn't get to the point where they were interviewing and they just gave it to Mitch. So shout out to Mitch. I'm excited for him. Excited for Spurs basketball in general, but that's breaking news. And I don't even know if I can give a 5 to 10 minutes on Greg Popovich. It's just one of those things where I was driving over to the studio and it broke. And I'm like, damn, for as long as I've been in this world, Greg Popovich has been a staple in the NBA. He's been a phenomenal coach, as we all know. The championship speaks for themselves, but also he's been, by all accounts, I've never met Greg Popovich, a better person, right? Speaking out on the things that he believes in, and it just so happens that me and Greg Popovich kind of align on a lot of those issues in the world. I'm happy that he's not going away from the game completely, right? We definitely not going to get many interviews of Greg Popovich on the sideline where he's giving you one-word answers, which we all thought was pretty cool. So he's not stepping away from the game completely because it said he still has so much to give to this game. But it is, I don't know, weird to say that we're about to have a season or then forever for the rest of the game, not going to have Greg Popovich on the sidelines. We saw him get through a lot of different eras in basketball, and the Spurs happen to be good in 99% of those eras. Even after they traded a franchise player in Kawhi Leonard for stuff, they still found a way to be competitive. They weren't no championship level team, but like you looked at that team, it's like, okay, there's some stuff here. DeMar DeRozan evolved as an NBA player under Greg Popovich, where he was looked at for a long time in his career as this black hole, and he was going from a place where he couldn't win in Toronto to another situation that he turned into just a really well-rounded player as a playmaker. They ended up getting LaMarcus Aldridge right before that as well. And again, those teams weren't breaking down the doors, but like Greg Popovich helped them be at least decent. You have one of my favorite teams of all time, the 2014 San Antonio Spurs. I think everybody, if you enjoy the game of basketball, that is one of those teams for people. One of the most selfless teams in history. And I want to make sure that I'm getting my years right. But 2014 Spurs, 2013, 2014 Spurs is the year I'm thinking about. Okay, so this is the year they do win a championship. And I do want to showcase or point out how difficult it is to do what they did. Reminder, 2012, 2013 Spurs. They sweep the Lakers. They beat the Young Warriors in 6. They sweep the Grizzlies. They get to the finals. And then the Ray Allen shot happens. They go to 7 and they end up losing, right? Ray Allen shots happen in 6. They go to OT. They lose in OT. So for them to have, that's such a heartbreak. It was so much of a heartbreak and so a phenomenal of a moment for the Miami Heat and for the league at large that as Ray Allen is about to hit that shot where Chris Bosh gets this offensive rebound, they're wheeling in the Larry O'Brien trophy because in their mind, this game is over. And I'm sure in the Spurs fans' mind and in the Spurs front office and the Spurs players and the Spurs coaching staff thought that this series was won. We just did it again. We just won another championship after a season where we lost to the young OKC team in the conference finals. Damn it, we here and we're about to get another ring. And then the shot happens. And it's demoralizing. Then in game 7 of the series, this is the Braun 40-point game or near 40-point game. To come back from that season and say, hey, we're still a champ. We still can win a championship. The mental toughness that you need to have as a team is basically what I'm pointing out. To have that taken away from you so effortlessly and to come back next season and say, no. We still here. And to go against that same Miami Heat team and smoke the hell out of them. They won 62 games that season and smoked them. 5-game series. I remember LeBron James walking off the court after it was all said and done. It was like, damn, that really is it. And then we get a couple other years after that where let me see which year this was. This is the year where they were nearly perfect at home. and they were about to set some records. This is 2016. This is Kobe's year. The 2016 is maybe my favorite season of all time. You have the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. You have the finale of Kobe Bryant's career, and then you had the Spurs, who was just low key in the background, being nearly a perfect team. Now they lost in the second round to OKC and all, but yeah, just Greg Popovich, greatest NBA coach of all time, if you ask me. No disrespect to Phil Jackson and some of the older guys that were well before my time. He's going to retire as an NBA head coach with a 62% win percentage. That is insane. Shout out to Greg Popovich. That's not what this episode's supposed to be about, but damn it, we love Greg Popovich around here. Let's go to the next team here. Talk about the Pistons. The Pistons season officially ended yesterday. And I want to give them the utmost amount of respect and credit, because it ended up being a 6-game series, and they were, again, one shot away, a Jalen Brunson shot away from taking it to game 7 against a team that had all of the experience in the world. And I'm so very proud of them. And I think Pistons fans probably share that sentiment, that this is a team that nobody expected to be here. And not only were they there, some teams end up getting there, and it's just a good story that they're there. No, this team had a real chance. And this series was a dogfight. It was physical as hell. And there were times where this young Detroit Pistons team really got under the skin of the veteran Knicks team. Yesterday, they went on this stretch where the Knicks, I like to call it Looney Tunes basketball, but then I remember Looney Tunes basketball is actually lit. Looney Tunes versus the Monstars, them boys could hoop. So I need to get away from calling it the Looney Tunes basketball. I need to call it like Three Stooges hoops or something like that, where the ball is just flying and nobody's doing anything and people look scared. They had a moment in that game last night where the Knicks were that team. They were playing Five Stooges basketball, where it's like, where's Jalen Brunson? Can he save us? He did eventually. He did. But it's just moments in time where the Pistons did that to the Knicks, and vice versa too. I mean, game 1, 21-0 run for the Knicks. Like, that is Three Stooges basketball from the Detroit Pistons. Hell, they came out of the third quarter to the fourth quarter and got a 5-second violation. How the hell did that happen? I don't know. But for what it's worth, it was a really good showcase for the Pistons. And now they go into the offseason feeling pretty good that they found the culture. And, people are sending me tweets like, okay, this team was so good this season. Is there a world they can acquire this guy? Could they go get Devin Booker? Could they go get this other star player? And I always want to say, let's just pump the brakes on that a little bit. I do believe that there's talent here that can grow internally, where you don't need to empty out your asset toolkit in order to go get a guy right now. Devin Booker is a Michigan native, and he would fit perfectly on this team. Don't get me wrong. But I would rather just take a year back and just really continue to evaluate the young talent that is actively on the roster before we make some type of big decision. Cade Cunningham had his first playoff series of his career. And, there was ebbs and flows, right? There were times where he looked phenomenal, where he would take over a game. And there was other times where you can tell that this was his first playoff series. And I thought that there were a couple major pillars in Cade Cunningham's game that I think that he would spend a lot of time in this offseason getting better at. And again, I thought he had an all-NBA caliber season. So nothing that I'm about to say about Cade Cunningham is like me shitting on the guy, because he's an amazing player. But as a 22-year, how old is Cade Cunningham nowadays? As a 23-year-old player in his first playoff series, you have to recognize that, there's some things that we can get better at. In the series, he averaged 25 points per game, 8 rebounds, about 9 assists were round up for UK, 42% from the field, and about 19% or 18% from three. When we go back and look at my predictions and my previewing these series, I was saying that, hey man, in the regular season where the Pistons took advantage and beat the Knicks 3 times out of 4, I think the number was, Cade Cunningham shot like 45% on pull-up 3-point shots. In the regular season, he was closer to 30. So the question is, in this postseason, will he look like the normal version of himself or the superstar Knicks version? And the reality was he looked, worse. He looked even worse than his normal version. And I do believe that pull-up 3-point shooting has to be near the top of the list for Cade Cunningham going into this offseason. He has been better at it every single year of his career. So there's light at the end of the tunnel to think that, he has worked on this time and time again. And another offseason, he could get better at that. But I thought that we saw 2 different versions of great point guard play yesterday. Version A was Jalen Brunson, where at the start of the fourth quarter, I don't have him in my notes here, but if I'm not mistaken, he started off like 2 of 9 in the fourth quarter alone after dominating the first part of this game. But what Jalen Brunson didn't do was get away from the things that he knows, that he works on time and time again. There's one thing to be 2 for 9 on bad shots, and there's one thing to be 2 for 9 on shots that I know I can make. And that's what the latter part of that is what Jalen Brunson was. And then we get to the point where he gets to his spots and he hits the game-winning shot. He didn't steer away from who he is as a player because he started off so slow. And I thought on the opposite side of that, we saw the first year in the playoffs, 23-year-old Cade Cunningham say, shit, am I really 0 for 6 on pull-up threes? I don't think that's the real number, but I'm just thinking about it that way. I should go to something else. I don't think that has to be the case, Cade. And again, I understand that you didn't shoot the ball well, and people always say, hey, man, there's a shot not going in. You got to find other ways. Sometimes in my mind, when you are a Cade Cunningham in this world, or you are a Jalen Brunson in this world, we're talking about top whatever in the league, you trust the work. Yeah, I might be bad at it right now. I may have missed my last 6 shots here, but I know this is a shot that I practice, and I know this is a shot that I could get to. And there were times where he played right into the Knicks' hands down the stretch, because I think they got up by 7, if I'm not mistaken, and they didn't score for the rest of the game. They didn't have a field goal for the rest of the game. And I thought that Cade Cunningham got away from the things that he trusted. And again, I think that's partially just him being in his first playoff series and him getting into his own head just a little bit. So that is number one. Number two is something that we've pointed out for Cade Cunningham the entirety of his career. It's the turnovers. In this series, he had 32 turnovers in the 6 games. It's just something that he needs to work on. I've been watching a lot of the series that I want to replicate at Enjoy Basketball somewhere or another. I just don't know how we do it. Was it quarterbacks school with Gruden over at Barstool? I'm not even a football guy, but he does an amazing job of breaking down the footage and with incoming quarterbacks. It's a Barstool show. And I was watching an episode with Jackson Dart, who got the Giants traded up in the first round to draft him. And one thing that Gruden kept saying is like, you like to throw into those tight windows, don't you? That's Cade Cunningham to a T. Pick and roll play. There's this much space for that ball to fit through. Cade Cunningham is going to try to make that pass. And when it goes through and it's Jalen Duren on the other side of things, boom, it's a slam and it's electric and we're at home and the crowd is going crazy. But there are times with this much space to fit that ball through is just not enough for you're going to get 6'8" OG Anunoby or 6'5" with a 99-foot wingspan Mikal Bridges or things like that. Just not enough space, and it turns to a live ball turnover, and that live ball turnover turns into a layup or a made 3 on the other end. That is just something that he needs to work on. Turnovers are one thing, and live ball turnovers are the thing that bother me the most. It just is. And that's not just Cade Cunningham thing. Hell, all players do this. But finding a way to protect that pill just a little bit better next season. Well, I think Calipo, Cade Cunningham, who's already going to be an All-NBA player, to a whole nother level. He averaged 4.5 turnovers per game in the regular season. And then he had a 7 turnover game, a 6 turnover game, a 5 turnover game, another 5 turnovers. It's just tough. And part of that's him being overtaxed as like one of the only creators on the court. And I think that Dennis Schroeder being added to this roster at the deadline definitely helped. But that's the next thing. And the last thing is some of his finishing I thought was a bit weird, but I'm not somebody that can even talk to it because I don't even know what I was seeing, but I did have in my notes. Cade's finishing is just a little bit weird right now. I don't know what that means, but those are the 3 things that I would definitely focus on for Cade Cunningham, because I think that the ceiling for this Pistons team is ridiculous, because you saw what Asar Thompson could do defensively. I love that Jalen Brunson went to his post-game interview and said, hey, man, I told Asar to his face that, like, what you did in this series made me work more than, like, almost any time in my career. And Jalen Brunson's been in a ton of playoff series. Asar Thompson, he checked out the game like 3 minutes left, and I'm like, no, JB, what are you doing? And eventually he put him back on the court. But I thought that was a real moment in time because JB had a really tough time trying to balance things out. Do we go with the shooting and the offense of Malik Beasley, who had his ups and downs in the series? His highs are really high, then his low was letting the ball slip through his hands to end the series. Or do we go with Asar Thompson, who the defensive numbers look insane, but our offense suffers? And he was just swinging. He was swinging, and you don't really know. Sometimes he had to go with the scoring. And sometimes he had to go with the defense. So Asar's ceiling, I know Amon gets a ton of credit as the NBA's like next big star. And it's understandable, but Asar Thompson's not too far behind, considering Asar Thompson missed the last couple months of his rookie season with a clotting issue, and then missed the first couple months of this season with a clotting issue. And what we have learned over the last, I don't know, since the clotting issue has happened to three players in the NBA over the last year and a half, 2 years, is that when you are on that medication, you can't really work out. You can't really even do cardio. So Asar had an entire summer where he couldn't really be in the gym. And what you saw in this playoff series is him without that. So now he's going into an offseason where he will be able to hoop. He will be able to get better. He will be able to round out his game a little bit more. Hopefully, he will be able to practice his goddamn free throws. Asar, man, front rim every single time is kind of crazy. But yeah, he's a star. He's a future star in this league. Jalen Duren gave me a lot of ups and downs as well. I thought that he had some game number 5. He was absolutely incredible. But there's other games in the series, so I'm like, damn, Isaiah Stewart, I wish you were here. So the future is bright. I don't know what happens next with Jaden Ivey, who hasn't been able to play because of his leg issue over the last couple months, but just curious about it. Just curious about it. The future is really bright with that team, as you know. Let's talk about the Magic. Last year's Magic team surprised the world, ended up being the 5 seed, losing 7 to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we're really high on them. They end up acquiring or signing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a guy that was supposed to come in and shoot the ball and at a efficient level. He's never been a high volume three-point shooter, but boy, has he been efficient throughout his career. And that signing turned out to be not that great. This season, he averaged 8 points per game, 2 assists, 2 rebounds, and he shot 34% from 3. I want to remind you, the years before that, he was 40, 42, 39, 41, 38. His career low. Not his career low, I'm sorry. His rookie season in Detroit, he shot 30%, but that was on 2 attempts. A career low year for him. He just didn't provide what they anticipated from him. But even that all being said, with them having a disappointing season, Jalen Suggs is out with injury. I mean, Paolo and Franz both miss a decent chunk of the season with their abdominal injuries. I thought in the playoffs, they played the Celtics as good as almost anybody. I know it was a short series. But for the Celtics to be the best and the highest volume three-point shooting team in basketball and then go into this series and shoot 20 less threes a game than what they're used to, is insane scheming from Jamal Mosley and execution defensively from the Orlando Magic. Unfortunately, they have 2 players that know how to put the basketball in the cylinder thing, the objective of the game. They only got 2 players in their roster that can do that, and that's Paolo and Franz. And they do it so differently, and neither of those guys are shooters. So obviously, I think the big thing for them is to acquire some type of shooting, some type of catch and shoot players, some type of rhythm shooting guys, because they don't really have that on the roster at all. I think having Jalen Suggs back on the team puts them back into we're not a playing team, but maybe a real playoff team again. But again, I thought that for all it was worth, a short series versus the Boston Celtics, they played them very well and maybe showed a blueprint for some teams to try to replicate. And I'm looking at the next series. Can the Knicks replicate that? I don't think they have the personnel to replicate it or the coaching to replicate that, because Tom Thibodeau is Tom Thibodeau. But there has to be something there. There has to be something there. This is good. This is maybe. Do we want to be hyperbolic? Let's be hyperbolic. This is maybe the most important offseason they've had in a very long time. Has to be, bro. Because this has not been a team that has been at the forefront of making big decisions and making trades. I'll just say that. They've made a few when they traded away Aaron Gordon and Evan Fournier, and they traded away Vucevic and reset. That was perfect. They acquired a first overall pick. One of the picks they ended up getting in the Vucevic trade ends up being their secondary star, Franz Wagner. But other than that, they haven't really done much trading-wise to make the team better. They've drafted relatively well, obviously, and that's been kind of it. It's time to pick up their phone and say, hey, man, what's Kobe White's value? Hey, man, what's Anthony Simon's value? Hey, man, what's who's another guy that can shoot the ball? What's Cam Johnson's value? I don't know. Just something like that. They need people that can create and need people that can shoot. I don't know what the hell happens with the center rotation. There were times in this series where I thought Wendell Carter looked great. There was other times in the series where I'm like, get this man off the court. Nobody's guarding him. So, it's a bit of a dilemma because they have, when healthy, 3 at least decent centers. even though Goga wasn't very good in this series. You have Goga, you have Wendell, and you have Mo when he's healthy. That's like a nice center rotation, but none of them is blowing the doors off the opposing team. Shout out to Goga for being ready, though. I love that he's always ready. Before we get into maybe the two most interesting teams, the Lakers and the Bucks, I want to tell you that FanDuel is offering a no-sweat same-game parlay throughout this weekend of the NBA playoffs. Just build your parlay, activate the no-sweat token, and lock in your bets. And if it loses, FanDuel will refund you in bonus bets. Saturday, we have some pretty big games going on. We have Game 7, as of right now, the only Game 7 of the postseason, first round. And I put together a little same game parlay. And what you can do is tell me, or you can create your own. Here's what I've cooked up. This is a Game 7, man. We're going to need stars to be stars. And just so happened, my parlay has nothing to do with stars. I got Jamal Murray for 20 plus. Actually, postseason Jamal Murray is a star. What he did in game number 5 was maybe the best game of the postseason so far. I got a Zubac double-double. Killer glass. Get some points. And while we there, a Zubac 15. So I got him going for 15 and 10 minimum in this Game 7. And then lastly, I know that this guy has been dealing with this shoulder injury. But Michael Porter Jr. for 2 threes. It's just 2 threes. And he's Michael Porter Jr., damn it. So tap into FanDuel.com/Kenny. You can tell me or build your own. Shout out to FanDuel again. No sweat, same game parlay is kind of crazy. They put it together. The NBA playoffs are underway, so don't miss your chance to bet on all the clutch shots and legendary performances with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. FanDuel is your best place to find your favorite player props. And now you can make heads-up plays with player performance trends. That means whether you want to bet on a player to drop 30 or to put up a triple-double, you can check the latest stats and see who's hot without leaving the app. Plus, after the game tips off, you can combine live prop bets with the same game parlay for a chance for a big win. Right now, you know what I'm looking at? Round 2 of the playoffs. Those young guards and the Cleveland Cavaliers going against the Pacers defense, it might be kind of nice. So if you don't already have FanDuel, it's not too late to jump into the playoff action. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So just visit FanDuel.com/Kenny to join today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, last 2 teams. The most interesting teams. I say them for last because I got accused on Twitter the other day of turning into a Lakers-only creator. What? Me? Cut it out, man. I have made it my mission throughout the LeBron James Lakers era to actually not talk about them. But now Luka's on the team, and it's hard not to talk about them. Let's be real. But we have to talk about them because they ended up losing in 5 to the Timberwolves, who just looked incredible for the majority of this series. They had the best player on the court, and Anthony Edwards in almost every game. Rudy Gobert had his best game of his NBA career. Salute. Julius Randle, great. Full stop. Just great this series. And then you have the chip-ins of Jaden McDaniels having a big game here. Dante DiVincenzo hitting some big shots. And Naz Reid hitting some big timely buckets in game number 3 or 4. Or damn it, all of them. How about that, Naz? Just dominated the Lakers. The Lakers were trying different stuff. Jackson Hayes, yeah. Jackson Hayes, no. Maxi Kleber, welcome. The Banshees, you can't play. Sorry, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, and Jordan Goodwin. We really were excited for you to play in this series, but you just can't. You can't hit shots, and nobody's guarding you, and your defense is not that game-changing to keep you on the court. LeBron gave us some poor fourth-quarter performances. Luka Doncic had a poor performance compared to what he would normally give us, and overall, the Lakers ended up losing. But I said it once, I'll say it again. I'm going to remind people that this team was not built around Luka Doncic. It was built around LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But Luka Doncic happened to fall into their lap. And this is a real offseason for Rob Pelinka to try to make the things to turn this into a team that works well alongside Luka. How does he do that? They have Dalton Connect, who I'm assuming is going to be somewhat valuable across the market one way or another. He's not about to be the crown jewel of a superstar trade, but like if you're talking about acquiring a center Dalton Connect is probably a good player that can be moved in that. If you're talking about acquiring more size on the wings, Dalton Connect could maybe be able to do that. They have 2 tradable first-round picks and I think 1 swap, so they do have a little bit of an asset pool, but it will be really tough. It just will be really tough. People are doing like a victory lap for Nico Harrison, and I just wouldn't go there that far just yet. It is apparent that the defense was a problem for Luka Doncic. He was targeted on a nightly basis, and I just thought that for maybe the second time in his career, opposed to the series last year in the finals, his overwhelming offense didn't offset the bad defense. And that's a scary spot to be if you're Luka Doncic, right? And I thought that he was more of a negative on defense than he was a positive on offense. But for what it was worth, they as a team just couldn't score in this series. They just couldn't score in this series. And am I signed into Twitter on this computer? No, I'm not. Damn it. The Creative B-Ball Index, and I want to give him his credit. So I'm going to do something I never do, which is look at my phone in the middle of a podcast taping. And I want to give him his credit. Cranus McBasketball. Tim @Tim_NBA. He is the founder of B-Ball Index and a big Laker fan, I would assume. The entirety of this postseason run, damn it, he's been tweeting like crazy even today, this morning. He's been basically showcasing the Lakers offense like 7 times a game. Basically showing that, hey, when they have this organized level of basketball, they're averaging this many points per possession versus when they play isolation and have no scheme whatsoever. And they were just better when they were running sets and running stuff. And I thought that, and he thought that down the stretch, JJ Redick and the Lakers went way more into Luka isolation ball or Bron isolation ball when that hadn't been the real recipe to create anything of substance against the Minnesota Timberwolves team. So I think this is going to be a big offseason for the Lakers, for Rob Pelinka. I think it's going to be a big offseason for JJ Redick as he tries to go into year number 2 as a head coach. A big offseason for Luka Doncic to now listen to what Nico Harrison and them said, and to now listen to his new coach say, hey, man, not anybody specific, we have to be more in playoff shape. I mean, if it smells everywhere you go, you know what I'm saying, Luka? And maybe he will do that. Maybe he will. Only time will tell. I just don't know exactly what happens next. From all reports from Shams and Windhorst, LeBron is at least going to play another season, which is great. I am a guy that believes that when LeBron James does officially call it quits, he will want a farewell tour. I know he said 5 years ago, 10 years ago, he doesn't want a farewell tour. For us, Bron, let us give you a farewell tour. One thing that I regret is not going to see Kobe his last time when he was in Chicago. My boy Kyron did. Kyron paid like $900 to have some seats to watch Kobe's last game in Chicago, and he doesn't regret it one bit. I would spend a lot of money to watch Bron for one last time. So you got to let us know. You can't just pop up like, I think I'm done. Because I'm not paying that $900 for another random LeBron game. You know what I'm saying? It has to be the last one. Because watching the Lakers live is expensive as hell. It don't matter what city you're in. But especially in Chicago. When I was a season ticket holder, I was like, man, should I sell these tickets? You tell me I could get a band? I can get a band right now? I didn't sell the tickets, by the way. Very rarely did I sell my tickets. I mostly gave them away when I didn't want to go. Because I'm a man of the people, damn it. People shouldn't have to pay resale value for tickets to watch their favorite team play, especially if it's Chicago Bulls who suck. You know what I mean? I was paying a lot of money. Let's take a step back. I was paying a lot of money to watch a bad basketball team. Why would I upcharge somebody? I had the group chat. Hey, man, anybody want to go watch 76ers versus Bulls tonight? No? Anybody on Reddit want to go watch 76ers versus Bulls tonight? And I was just giving them out. What a great moment that was in my career. That was the Bulls that was the first time the Bulls embraced me as a creator. I got nothing but love for the Bulls. I just don't like the direction they're going as a basketball team. But as an organization, they've tip-top as far as like putting me involved in stuff. But that was the first time they ever did, where they had Jen. Shout out to Jen. Social media posts and like, hey, Kenny, yada, yada, yada. Oh, man, what a moment of time that was. And I was like, damn, man, this is my life right now, my favorite team, and showing me love. Yeah, they won 32 games last year, but man, this is fun all of a sudden. The last team that has been eliminated as today is the Milwaukee Bucks, who we saw the Damian Lillard injury a few nights ago, and I didn't think that in real time that it was an Achilles. He falls down. He does grab his ankle, but it looked like he was grabbing the front of his ankle. And every time we've seen somebody go down with an Achilles, it looked like they're holding the back because that's of course where the Achilles is. He didn't do that, so I'm thinking this is an ankle tweak and maybe he'll be back. And then Chris Hayes comes out and says that they feared that it might be an Achilles. And the next day, Shams Charania officially reported that it was an Achilles. And, it's a sad moment in time, not just for Bucks fandom, but for NBA fans. Damian Lillard, he was a top 76 player of all time. He snuck into the list, and he had been just a joy to watch for the majority of his career, all of his career, damn it. And for him to be closer to 35 and a smaller point guard, it's just not a lot of history that shows that we'll get the normal version of Damian Lillard ever again. So I'm wishing him a speedy recovery, but it does open up the can of worms of this offseason for the Milwaukee Bucks. I said it, I'll say it again. I would rather Giannis plays his entire career in Milwaukee. It is good for the sport that one of the best players in the league is true to a small market. But if you're Giannis and you're in his team, I think you have to look at what is going on and make a decision on whether or not you want to be around as this team's transitions. Because there's not a trade or a group of trades that they can do right now that will put them into contention. So you would have to have the utmost amount of confidence in Horst, who got an extension while they were down 3-1 in the playoffs, by the way. You would have to have the most amount of respect and confidence that he can have a 2 to 3 year plan to make us contenders again soon. And if I'm Giannis, who I think did he just turn 30 or did he just turn 30? He just turned 30. Do I want to spend 2 years of retooling? Do I want to spend 3 years? Because if you tell me we have 2 years of retooling, sometimes retooling still doesn't work. So do I want to sit here and wait for you to maybe not even make the right decisions? As much as I love Milwaukee, I may have to talk to my representation and say, hey, man, it might be time. And even if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, and I truly do believe that they would never do this unless Giannis asks for it, I think they should look at themselves in the mirror and look at the roster and say, we don't believe we can build around Giannis right now. And we will be doing him a disservice if we told him to sit around while Kyle Kuzma's contract expires. That's rough, man. And now you add on the fact that Damian Lillard is out for at least the next 8 months, because that's the lowest amount of time. I think somebody came back within 8 months. I forget who it was. So that puts us into December. And usually these Achilles injuries, those guys have to ramp their way back up to being great. And again, we're praying and hoping that Damian Lillard can be back to being great. That's a lost season too. And then it comes out a day ago that before the Achilles injury, they were going to talk to Dame about maybe trading him away. And now that's not really a likelihood anymore. I don't know what the hell they could do. It's been a weird season, man, where there were times you're like, okay, I can squint a little bit and see. I can squint a little bit and see what they're trying to build. And other times it's like, damn, bro, this is it. This is what's left for that championship team a few years ago. Granted, a lot of these guys are just older. A lot of the guys they've traded away. I sometimes I question, like, as an NBA fan, again, that's the only thing I am. I'm just an NBA fan that happens to talk in on microphone for an hour a few times a week about the game. Is there something we're missing? Because we complained for 2 years, basically. The Dame and Giannis pick and roll does not happen enough. And then I watch Knicks versus Pistons, and I'm thinking, the Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns pick and roll doesn't happen enough. What do those coaches know? Because for what it's worth, Tom Thibodeau and not Greg Popovich, and Doc Rivers know more basketball or forgotten more basketball than I know. What is happening that they can't go to that bread and butter? I don't know. I would love to ask them. Why is that not incorporated more? We got some teams in basketball that is what they do. Kay Cunningham, Jalen Duren, that is what they do. Jamal Murray and Jokic, that is what they do. But other teams that you feel like you got the idea, that you got the piece to make it work, aren't doing it. Why? I'm going to find Tom Thibodeau one day and I'm going to ask him. I don't know if I'll ever be able to find Doc Rivers, but I can find Tom Thibodeau, I think. Well, it might be easy to find Tom Thibodeau because we know he's going to be in Boston in a couple of days. Doc Rivers could be anywhere right now. He could be in Cabo. He could be in Milwaukee. No, he's not. He could be anywhere. So it's going to be tougher to find him. But that's wraps for the teams that are out right now. Maybe tonight it ends up being the Rockets, or maybe the Rockets force a game 7. I like game 7. So dare I say go Rockets? Greg is not here to jump in on me saying go Rockets, but maybe go Rockets just because I want to see a game 7. But yeah, let's get into your favorite segment, my favorite segment, Ask KB. All you got to do is hit us up on Twitter, on Instagram with some questions, and I'll try my very best to answer them. The first one comes from Brandon Purvis. I think he just changed out the first letter of his first and last name. Which team has the best home court advantage in the playoffs? That's a good question. OKC is probably one. OKC, man, this has been the case for 15 years now. OKC's fans will put on the shirts. They will stand up to their first basket go in, and they will be electric. So they're probably number 1. Number 2, this is tough. Maybe Indiana. Because Indiana's arena is like a coliseum. Where I've been there twice now, I think. And I love sitting, like there's very few arenas where I'd rather sit higher versus lower. That is one of the ones where I'd rather sit higher. The way it's built, all of the, if you're a listener, I'm moving my hands. The audio circles around and it becomes like an audio tornado. It's beautiful. It's like a college basketball experience. So maybe they're number 2. My number 3 has to be Minnesota, I think. I think Minnesota fans have been electric these last couple seasons. And there's a reason why they've been able to take care of business at home. My number 4, maybe it is the Intuit Dome. Small sample size, right? These other teams, they've been in playoffs over the last couple of years, so we have a bigger sample size. The Intuit Dome is new this year. And I forget who it was from the Nuggets that gave it a ton of credit. Maybe it was Adelman. I think it might have been Adelman talking about the wall and how intimidating it can be at the free throw line. And the numbers say that teams shoot worse against the wall from the free throw line. And then we get to like some of these Hollywood places, I don't feel like they have a great home court advantage. I don't think, even though it is, no, you know what? I take that back. Knicks home court can be cool. It's loud. But if I'm not mistaken, the Pistons have been able to go in there and get wins, right? So I don't know. It can be fun. I'm going to leave it at 4. And then the Warriors. I mean, it could be better. They don't put on the shirts. They don't put on the shirts. Yeah, maybe I'm neglecting the Knicks. I love being in Madison Square Garden. A cat is our producer today. She said Madison Square Garden is the greatest arena in the world. I feel like it's reversed for the Knicks sometimes. People get excited to play there because of its history. I can feel that. I mean, I remember when Bron had his game and he was like, every time it feels like he plays in the Garden, he posts on Instagram of him center court, king in the Garden or whatever. So yeah, I could feel that for sure. What about the worst? Let's have some fun with the worst. Miami. I thought that the last game for the Rockets was bad, but I think that was because it was like a 5:30 tip-off local. It's like, how the hell you expect people to get off work and come to a basketball game if it's that late? The Nuggets have like a home court advantage because they're 5,280 feet above sea level. So they have a built-in home court advantage. And their fans are amazing too. I was there when their ring ceremony. So maybe I didn't do them justice either. I think the worst might be the Magic. There were so many Celtics fans in that series, man. It was ridiculous. Like envy. I am 5'7", 139. Hey, I put on 4 pounds since the last time I told you my weight, by the way. I'm working. I'm not a fighter. But sometimes you got to have some pride as a fan. If the opposing player on the team is at the free throw line getting an MVP chance, you got to square up. You're not doing this in our arena. You can't. You can't. Or maybe you tap the dude next to you to fight if you're not a fighter like me. You hit him saying that. Let's go. Next question comes from Chapin. Hope I'm pronouncing that right too. After seeing players like Tobias Harris and Julius Randle have strong performances after being considered playoff droppers, who do you think could benefit the most from a change of scenery, of role, and get their value up? I do want to give so much credit and so much props to those two guys, man. Tobias Harris, was hated in Philadelphia for the end of his career in Philly, where I think he gave us 0 points on whatever. He was so ready to get out of there. And I thought he was phenomenal in this series, all things considered. There were times where he held his own against Karl Anthony Towns. There were times where he was one of the offensive engines. And yeah, him being great. And we already gave our flowers to Julius Randle, who is a guy that can be that as well. Honestly, I don't know. This is how crazy it is in the NBA. I know we get the word, excuse me. I know we get the name playoff droppers all the time. But it really is just like a small amount of people that fit into this. Historically, according to the numbers, this is not me, according to the numbers, James Harden in 2017 was a huge playoff dropper. James Harden in 2018 was a huge playoff dropper. No, I don't want to give it to James Harden 100 times. Damn. In history, according to the numbers, here are the biggest playoff droppers in history. I'm saying this to say, I don't know if there's an answer for 2025. I think James Harden's probably the biggest one. He just gave us a huge game 6. We'll see if he can do it in game 7. But I don't think he needs to change the scenery. I just think he needs to continue to play well, because I thought the game before that he was pretty ass, and then he followed up with this game. According to the numbers here, the biggest playoff droppers, Paul Pierce, but they only given it one season. Derrick Rose, 1 season. Alonzo Mourning in 1 season. Jack Sikman 1 season. Pau Gasol in 1 season. And then James Harden in 5. I don't like that, James. All right, this is the last one we got. Comes from Get Rex. Which playoff riser do you love watching the most? Yeah, I think my favorite playoff riser before the season was Luka. But Luka didn't rise this season, which is fine. It happens. It happens. You can't be Superman every day. I think Clark Kent probably took days off. He still had to go to work and everything, which is like still one of the craziest things in superhero comics. And if I am Spider-Man, I'm sorry, I'm not delivering pizzas. I'm not writing for the Daily Bugle if I'm Superman. Like, I'm sorry. Can I be a government employee, please? Just you don't need to know who I really am. But please pay me, bro. Please. Delivering pizzas? And I just got rid of Doc Ock for the 7th time. And oh my God, now this piece is free because I was 12 minutes too late. What was the question? Oh, playoff risers. My favorite playoff risers. Historically, or are you talking about this season? Historically, there's nobody better than Bron. I know this season wasn't that, but he also was 40 years old. If we're talking historically. Bron is easily number 1. I thought that when Shaq got to the postseason in his prime, again, I'm 8, 9 years old, so I can't act like I was doing this then. But when Shaq got to the postseason, I understand why Kobe was pissed off, basically. Because, bro, if you did this every single season, dog, there's no way you would end your career with 1 MVP. But he got to the playoffs, and it was like, how many centers do you have? Because they're all going to be a foul trouble. I hope you have 7 centers that could just come in and give V fouls, because I can do that. Let me see some of these stats. Where are these stats for his playoffs? And I'm really talking about once he ended up in LA. No disrespect to his Orlando run, where he ended up in the finals once and everything, conference finals once, and then he got his ass beat by the greatest of all time in the finals in 2000. 38 points per game, 17 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 assists, 6-game series. Then we get the finals the year after that, 33 points per game, 16 rebounds, 5 assists, 3.5 blocks. Then we get to the finals after that. 36 points, 12 rebounds, four assists, 3 blocks. It just is insane. I think, again, I might be Team Kobe here. The fact that Shaq was only doing it like to win one MVP is kind of crazy. Because when I think about the most dominant player of my lifetime, Shaquille O'Neal is in a league of his own. And I think a lot of that comes with the postseason play. Because in the regular season, he was still giving you like 28 to 30. But for that to jump up to 38, to 36, for them blocks to get that high, it's insane. All right. I think that's where we wrap up today's episode. I appreciate everybody for watching and listening. Again, tune in to the Enjoy Basketball universe, whether it be small ball here, teed up with Pierre, numbers on the board, the Enjoy Basketball YouTube channel, and I was gonna lie. I was gonna act like we had another show premiering. We don't. I just like giving people hype, man. If you hype, then I'm hype. So you know what? We do got another show starting up relatively soon. And this is not an Enjoy Basketball property, but go show some love to my boy D Mills. He's been really dedicated to his wrestling podcast with Reese. Again, not something that's under this umbrella, but it's one of my best friends. So show him some support, damn it. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, Derek and Reese chemistry continues to get better and better with every episode. Hell, I'm not a huge wrestling fan. Actually, my way to catch up with wrestling is through their podcast. So be it. I did watch WrestleMania though, and that was decent. All right, love y'all. I'll see y'all next time.